I like you. A kid with balls. No, you got it. You got it going? Walking, baby. This thing does have some low speed.
So here's the X4. I got the mythical Travis Little. Yes, he does still exist. He's just an airboat fag now. So let's give you a little walk around. So we got the hood pulled off. Underneath here, you'll find the air box. That's very obvious. That's your air intake. Very quiet, very nice. Big battery, mounted nice and high. All the electronics are up high under the hood. We like that. This right here is actually the belt intake. These right here are your breather lines. They had them tucked back in there. I'm gonna run those up with a tube, probably. There's your rectum finder. Nice toolkit that says Yamaha. Nice big radiator. Not super well shielded, but you know, whatever. Spare fuses. The electronics on this thing look a little cheap compared to most Yamahas. Look how that computer's mounted. A little lazy there. The fan stays on forever when you park it. So we got the center cowl off, which comes off really easy, by the way. I mean, just like a minute and me and Travis had this baby all apart. The back cowl is the back cup holder. That comes off even easier. So there's your air intake pipe, which goes up in the bottom of the air box. There's your belt intake pipe, which goes up to where I just showed you. Now I think there's plenty of room in here to run the belt exhaust, which you see right there, along with those pipes up front. So I don't think it's gonna be that hard to snorkel. The intake, engine intake and belt intake are already snorkeled for you. That big old brake rotor right there, its sole purpose is to provide a parking brake. There's no park in the engine, which is great. It's just that. Big beefy drive shaft, does have exposed universal joints. Not super crazy about that. There's your handbrake for drifting, and it's a pinion brake, so it's excellent. What's that little breather thing, Travis? I don't know what that is yet. That's a mystery. It looks like it's going to the transmission. It looks like it's a transmission breather. So the transmission's actually in front of the engine, and the power goes out both ways and through the center of the engine. Pretty awesome idea. There's your belt housing. It is plastic. It's not like the old Grizzlies where it's aluminum. And that belt is going to be a pain in the ass to change if you ever have to. But good thing it comes with a 10-year belt warranty. That's right, guys. It's got a turtle key for little kiddies to drive it, make it go real slow. The back seats are really comfortable. I sat back here while we just drove around just now. You do feel a slight amount of heat on that side. This side, virtually no heat, but way better than the P1000. They've kept the two-cylinder engine very compact. So far, we're pretty happy with the power. They managed to line up the engine and the transmission and the rear diff such that there are no U-joints going to the rear, which means it's kind of like a Honda, right? Everything's centered properly and lined up. There's not bullshit U-joint angles all over the place. Much less things to maintain. Rear diff is pretty big. It could be mounted a little lower, and the mounts for it don't even look that beefy, but you know, you got to kind of trust that Yamaha did a good job with that. It needs rear arched arms badly. Those are the giant self-leveling shocks. They're hydraulic. I could explain how they work, but Yamaha already did a great job with that. Greasable knuckles, see the grease zerks. Dual rear piston on the calipers, which is better than the Teryx. This thing has actually pretty low gearing. It's got the lowest gearing out of the three I looked at, which was the Teryx, the P1005, and this. The Terex's Achilles heel is that it's kind of weak in reverse. They like to burn belts in reverse on big mud tires. This thing is geared way low in reverse and way lower in high and low. I don't remember the gear rates off the top of my head, but I'll post them in the description because I'm sure that's a question you're all going to ask. This thing is quiet. I mean, I'm talking really fucking quiet. Like with all the insulation, I mean, you got inches of insulation all over the place. It is silent. It's got a total of 6 cup holders, which is really good. Cup holders are important because this is, you know, a 4-seater beer wagon. Here's what the center console looks like. This is all storage right here. I mean, look at that shit. You could put all kinds of things in there. The back seats have a nice spot between them for a like a Yeti soft cooler. Also back here, there's a decent amount of storage with the seats up. The seats obviously fold forward and everything. But Yamaha makes a box that fits back here that's going to be a perfect cooler. It's a replacement for the tailgate, so really maximizes your space. Yes, it fits in the back of a 1500 Silverado. That's how it got here, contrary to what the dealership told me. And that's actually a short bed, well, medium bed. So there's the back of the engine. It's a dry sump engine, so you see a little oil cooler right there. Oil tank is over there. Travis, what was your observation earlier that I forgot? Fan stays on for a long time. We like the suspension, it rides good.
pattern is key.
Lug pattern is key. 4x110 lug pattern, so all my wheels will fit. I got cheap Steely wheels because I'm going to take them off almost immediately. A little low on ground clearance, right?
Yes.
It's going to need some liftage, and it's a little low on travel. If you look at most of the other 60-inch side-by-sides, they've got more travel. But Yamaha says this thing, it doesn't have the most travel, but it has quality travel, and I like stuff like that. I think that's cool. So it actually rides really well. We haven't had 4 people in it yet, but with the self-leveling shocks and everything. Oh yeah, the roof, very nice big roof. Got it for free. For some reason it wasn't on the invoice, so free roof. Bought this from Seminole Power Sports, put a plug in for them. Really nice guys to deal with. I was in and out of there in 1.5 hours exactly. I'm talking everything done. 1.5 hours, loaded up in the back of my truck. They thought it was stupid, but they still helped me put it in there. I'm gonna put fender flares on it, and the seat belts are actually pretty comfortable. It will beep at you if you don't have your front seatbelt on. It has a light, it has a helmet light and a seatbelt light, which is not great. The dash and the screen and the switches and everything don't feel really premium like a Can-Am. But guess what? It's actually pretty cheap. It's one of the cheapest 4-seaters out there. MSRP for this one's $15,999 or something like that. And that is a really good deal for the quality Yamaha engineering you're getting here. I think Yamaha's finally figured it out. They finally made a 2-cylinder. They kept the engine in the middle of the machine, put the transmission in front of it. So the weight distribution has got to be damn near 50-50 without people in it. And really clean, fly-by-wire, you know, just very cool. All the breathers are already in the intake. So we think it's gonna be pretty easy to snorkel actually. But it's time to get out the Sawzall and start cutting some holes in it for pipes, right Travis?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Just notice is that the rear wheels are pretty deep dish, meaning that they're wide offset, meaning that they wasted some travel. They could have made longer arms with more travel, but they didn't. Instead, they went cheap and made shorter arms and deep dish wheels. Front wheels are very not deep dish, right? So they're very negative, which means the front, you know, they got pretty long arms, but they're actually not that long because they mount pretty far apart. That's kind of annoying. Also, a lot of like wires and lines are just kind of hanging out in the open like this. It's just asking for a stick to get up there and rip all these wires out. So those are all going to get zip tied and tied up accordingly. The breather for the overflow for the radiator isn't snorkeled at all. It actually just breathes through this cap, we think. So that's going to have to get fixed. Also, it recirculates fuel fumes from the canister into the engine, which means there's a bunch of extra solenoids under here and a little valve and a little filter and a little one-way valve. And in mud and water, all that shit's gonna get screwed up. So I'm just gonna run the gas tank vent all the way up the tube like God intended it and delete all that crap. What other criticisms do we have? Not that many criticisms so far. Oh, the rear arms definitely should have been made arched. They arched the front, for some reason didn't feel like doing the rear. They actually almost did like a negative arch. I know they got some big shocks to play with, but I mean, really? They did a way better job on the front arms. Front arms are pretty sexy. Really maximize travel and nice arch. I'm gonna put a 3.5-inch lift probably. On the Teryx, you get a nice metal kick panel here. This is a pretty thin, chintzy piece of plastic, and that's not good. I had to take it off and see what the frame looks like behind there. Discovered that there is an auxiliary cigarette lighter for the driver's side passenger. This is the premium rear seat, right? Cigarette lighter, you're far away from the engine. That side gets a little bit warm. All right, so here's a side-by-side comparison of a P700 II and a Yamaha Wolverine X4. You can see the ground clearance is pretty similar from the front. The P700, the Yamaha Wolverine probably has more ground clearance, it looks like, a little bit. The front differential, this has got that huge crazy diff with the locker. This has a nice pretty compact diff also with a locker. This is an actual like old school locker with splines. This is like a new school locker, like a Rubicon locker with 3 pins and like, you know, cam and cam followers. Move over to the side, you'll see this is a bench seat, so you could put 3 people in here, but it has a very non-aggressive seating position. You don't really have shoulder bolsters or anything like that to keep you in your seat. You're not really sitting in the seat. Does have paddle shifters, not a belt, which is great. Nice big empty floorboard. So move around this way. And at the back, you'll see that the ground clearance is pretty similar. Dude, I think mine's got more ground clearance. Yeah, it's close. It's definitely close.
Because we've used the 700 for some work.
Oh yeah, it's been broken in. The preload's also set at the very lowest. The one that this 850 has adjustable or self-adjusting rear shocks. But the important thing to know is that this is geared literally twice as low as that is. But that is a torque converter, so it'll never break a belt because there is no belt. There's just a torque converter, and that's a Honda. But the P700 4 or 5 seater, whatever it's called, you know, the rear seats are worthless. These rear seats are pretty good. We've had several full-size men in the back of there, and no complaints about the rear seats. So, pretty good comparison though. Dude, the wheelbase is identical.
Yeah.
I mean, the width and the wheelbase. Look where the tires are sitting. It looks, yeah, it looks like a pink Jeep tour or something.
One more criticism, it does have a lot of driveline backlash. You don't notice it with an experienced driver, but it adds a very bouncy, jerky feel of like a kid's driving it or something. But the back seats are awesome, and so far we love almost everything about it except for the driveline backlash, and it's a little bit low on ground clearance.